Hello everyone, Vaida from Bookbindersbuddy is here. Today we are going to do the same book like last week, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, just smaller in size. This time it will be A6, which is half of A5, which we had last week. Why I chose the same book like last week? Mainly because of two reasons. First of all, after looking at the book I made last week, I don't feel like I like it anymore. I don't know, something is off about that book. I wanted to attach a pocket watch to the cover of the book and I did it. I liked it last week, but for some reason the book doesn't make me happy. I cannot tell you what exactly it is, but I guess it is somehow not my style, or the cover is too simple, or much of nothing. I feel like I can do better, or nicer, or both. And the second reason is because I wanted to show you how to make an A6 size book on my Bookbindersbuddy web application. The idea is that you can turn the same content of the book into books of different size, like I did. So I did Alice's Adventures in Wonderland of A5 size last week, and this week I'll do the same book of A6 size. Still in English, still for me, not for my son, unfortunately. So I started by copying and pasting the entire content of the book on A6 size pages. The text needed some reformatting, but this time it wasn't that much work. And then I used my app. As you can see, one sheet of paper held 4 pages of the book on one side and the same on the other side. And then came the usual bookbinding. I was supposed to cut all these sheets of paper in half, but for some reason I thought a simple trimmer would do the job. I was wrong. I should have used the office guillotine instead. It would have done the job much more precisely and nicely. But at this point we have what we have. Once the holes have been punched, the book has been stitched and glued, it was time for the cover. This time I wanted to use a less obvious object on the cover of a book, as I did the last time. I still wanted to incorporate a clock motif into the cover of a book, but this time it had to be more delicate and practical. As the color of the book was brown and the spine was green, blue, or cyan, as you say, I decided to make a diamond shape in the same green-blue color, containing 4 smaller, color-matching diamonds in the middle of which a flat metal clock should appear. This is the part of the same pocket watch from the last week that was under the dial. You know, when something breaks or falls apart, you can use parts of it for several different projects. So the cover is glued together, the end pages are incorporated, and the whole project goes to rest for 24 hours while the glue does its job. Let's talk about the book again. During this week, I have devoted some time to looking at lifetime and work of the author of this book in more detail. As they say, I followed the white rabbit, right? So this time I feel I can say things much more confidently because it turns out that I am not the only one who sees the darkness in the author's biography. First of all, I must confess that Lewis Carroll is a much greater genius than I thought. We know that he was a mathematician exploring logic and mathematical puzzles. He was also a poet, an essayist, and a fan of wordplay. Then these two fields, mathematics and literature, are combined into a single unit full of details from both fields. We have the work we are discussing now, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. In the text of the book, we can find so many mathematical concepts and ideas which I hadn't initially thought about. We can also find a lot more wordplay in the text in original language, in English, than in the translations. When I first read this book, it was in Lithuanian, and even though the text seemed interesting, it is much more playful and interesting in the original language, especially when you know what you're looking for. So, he had a magical power to play with words, concepts, figurative meanings. He was not afraid to break boundaries of logic and provoke reader. But we came back again to the personality of Carroll Lewis and the details of his life. Unfortunately, my fears have not disappeared. Instead, they have only grown stronger. Carroll Lewis loved spending countless hours with children, especially young girls. For reasons that are inexplicable to me, parents would let their 6-year-old daughters to go to his house alone, unsupervised. He used to take pictures of the girls, often naked, especially Alice Liddell, who is supposed to be the inspiration for the story. We have to remember that these were slightly different times and different attitudes toward children. Girls were allowed to marry from the age of 12, and boy or man who kissed a 12-year-old girl in public was considered her fiancé. But we are talking about girls aged 6 to 7, including Alice Liddell, who came to his house whenever she wanted and were photographed, fed, washed, and sometimes stayed overnight, without parents, without other adults, without supervision. Sometime after the book's publication, Carroll Lewis was removed from his position at the college. The real reason is not known, but it is known that Alice Liddell was the daughter of the dean of the college, and that Carroll Lewis was friends with several of his daughters, including one of the eldest. Those nude photographs were found in Paris, taken by Carroll Lewis himself. Also, at some point in the period, Carroll Lewis proposed to Alice, although she was only 8 or 9 years old at that time. Say what you like, but I think this guy had a problem. And I haven't even mentioned yet that his parents were first cousins, and he himself almost died as a baby with lifelong consequences, very poor health, weak body, and choking attacks. A brilliant mind, but a poor body, and even poorer understanding of relationships. This is the creator of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Okay, let's go back to my book. I think it turned out pretty good. I like the big diamond shape that holds the smaller diamonds, the clock and the black details on the cover. I think I like this book a lot more than the one I did last week. Also, I feel that the small format suits this book better than the large one. It may be less fancy, but it is much more comfortable and stylistically beautiful, I think. What do you think, guys? Which one you like better? Thank you for being here with me. Please take a look at my web application Bookbinder's Buddy if you want to print and bind your book at home yourself with your one-side home printer. Take a look at my Skillshare course and see you next week. Bye!